Nirvana's Nevermind may have been more seismic, Soundgarden's Super Unknown more experimental, and Pearl Jam's 10 more successful, but when it comes to the bands that make up the big four of grunge, no one ever unleashed an album as monolithic and downright harrowing as Alice in Chains' 1992 masterpiece, Dirt. The band's second full-length overall, it expanded upon the template they had laid out on their 1990 debut, Facelift, jacking up the intensity and emotion to incredible and at times uncomfortable extremes. Jerry Cantrell's riffs were darker and sludgier, drummer Sean Kinney and bassist Mike Starr's rhythms lumbered like a mammoth trudging through tar, and Lane Staley's raw, throated wail was agonized in a way that was almost painful to listen to. Furthermore, the album's second half boasted a 5-song mini-suite of sorts about the ravages of heroin addiction, a topic that at least half the band had first-hand knowledge of at the time. Sadly, the turbulence captured on the album would soon overtake Alice in Chains. Starr was dismissed from the band during the Dirt tour due to issues with drugs, and Staley's vices proved to be an ongoing and worsening problem, resulting in the band canceling shows and even breaking up for a period. Tragically, both musicians eventually succumbed to their addictions, with Staley passing away in 2002 and Starr in 2011. Alice in Chains continues on today, but Dirt still stands as the band's magnum opus. Here are 10 things you may have not known about the 1992 album. Number 1, the band struggled with the success of their breakout debut album, Facelift. Dirt was produced by Dave Jordan, who had also helmed 1990's Facelift. He recalled the sessions for that first album to Music Radar. They were hot and ready to go. They did some drinking, but there were no drugs. By the time Jordan and the band reconvened for Dirt, however, things had changed. They were a big, established band and the vibe was different, he said. They were getting jaded. Lane told me he didn't like being famous. He told me flat out, people look at you like you're a piece of merchandise. Number 2, Dirt was recorded during the 1992 Los Angeles riots. Similar to Megadeth's Countdown to Extinction, Dirt was cut during the riots that erupted following the acquittal of 4 LAPD officers caught on camera beating an unarmed black motorist named Rodney King. In an interview with guitarist, Cantrell recalled how that atmosphere of violence permeated the session. I was actually in a store buying some beer when some guy came in and started looting the place. I also got stuck in traffic and saw people pulling other people out of their cars and beating the crap out of them. That was some pretty scary shit to have to go through, and it definitely affected the overall feel of the album. Number 3, Lane Staley improvised one of Dirt's most memorable moments. The very first vocal sounds heard on Dirt are a series of "ah" screams that begin on Them Bones. While the song credits Jerry Cantrell as the sole writer, Dirt engineer Brian Karlstrom says that not only did Staley come up with that vocal part, but he also improvised it in the moment. Karlstrom told The Atlantic that Staley said to him, "Oh, I hear a little vocal part I want to stick in the song." And then he listened to the playback of the song in his headphones and timed his screams to Cantrell's guitar riff. He just made it up on the spot. Number 4, Staley is wearing sunglasses in the Rooster video because he was too high. Jerry Cantrell wrote Dirt's biggest hit, Rooster, about his father who served 2 combat tours in Vietnam and whose nickname was Rooster. The video featured Cantrell Sr. as well as real Vietnam news footage and reenacted combat scenes. When it came to shooting the band's performance, however, director Mark Pellington ran into a problem. Lane was pretty high, he recalled in Mark Yarm's Everybody Loves Our Town. His eyes were really fucked up. He was totally pinned. Pellington's solution? Put him in sunglasses. I said, God, you look like a badass in those sunglasses. And it was like, all right, let's go. Let's get a couple of takes. Number 5, when Alice in Chains went on tour with Ozzy, Staley performed some of the dates seated in a wheelchair. In recent years, Dave Grohl and Axl Rose have both powered through performances while suffering from broken bones by sitting atop a throne on stage, but Lane Staley beat him to it by decades. Soon after the release of Dirt, the singer spent several of his band's fall 1992 dates opening for Ozzy Osbourne confined to a wheelchair after a mishap on an all-terrain vehicle backstage at a show in Oklahoma City resulted in him riding over his own foot. An unusual usual way to start off the tour, but as Staley reasoned in an interview at the time, I didn't break my neck, so there's no excuse not to play. Nor did it stop Staley from giving it his all. He jumped out in the crowd with his cast, so I thought that was kinda nutty, added bassist Mike Starr in the same interview. Overall, the band took a lighthearted approach to the incident, even printing up an official tour shirt emblazoned with an X-ray of Staley's broken foot under the band's logo. Number 6, in the lyrics to Dirt's title track, Staley sings about being covered with dirt. One night on tour, he and his bandmates literally were. Rock bands that are on the road together have a history of pranking one another, but fellow Seattleites Grunge Truck may have pulled the best one on Alice in Chains during their tour together in late 1992. Grunge Truck bassist Tim Pohl explained in Everybody Loves Our Town, it was the Dirt Tour, so we found a hardware store that was open late and bought these 5-pound bags of potting soil. Just before the AIC boys hit the stage that night, Paul and his bandmates dumped it on him. Looking back, Paul admitted it was maybe ill-advised because the poor guys had to play a show with dirt down their throats. Number 7, Mike Starr was booted from Alice in Chains for drugs and then OD'd after his final show with the band. During the Dirt Tour, bassist Mike Starr was kicked out of Alice in Chains due to his budding drug addiction. His final show with the band, before he was replaced by Ozzy Osbourne bassist Mike Inez, was at the Hollywood Rock Festival in Brazil in January 1993. According to Starr, in a 2010 radio interview, he spent the night shooting up with Kurt Cobain. Indeed, in a different interview, Cobain said the same thing, though slightly jokingly. Afterwards, Starr said he went back to Staley's room and continued his drug binge before passing out. He recalled, I wake up and Lane had me in the shower and everything. I was flatlined and he's crying and punching me in the face and I'm like, what's wrong? What did I do? He's like, you were dead for 11 minutes, Mike. Number 8, Jerry Cantrell nearly bared it all on a memorable episode of Headbangers Ball. Given how dark and often depressing Dirt's music and lyrics could be, it was only natural that when Alice in Chains appeared on MTV's Headbangers Ball to promote the album in 1993, show host Ricky Rackman took them to a water park? Throughout the episode, filmed at Action Park in Vernon, New Jersey, the band members yucked it up as they went tubing, water sliding, and even indulged in a little bit of illegal fishing. And while the fat suits they donned for a few rounds of sumo wrestling were eye-popping, that was nothing compared to Cantrell's getup, which consisted of a little more than a snorkel and a bright blue Speedo. Don't film down there, Rackman warned the cameraman at one point. You don't want to see his package. Number 9, Alice in Chains co-headlined the 1993 Lollapalooza Festival and never did a full-scale tour with Staley again. In the summer of 1993, Alice in Chains and Primus co-headlined the third iteration of the Lollapalooza Festival, topping an eclectic main stage lineup that featured, among others, Arrested Development, Front 2 for 2, and Tool. This run would prove to be Alice's final full-scale tour with Staley. The following spring and summer, they were scheduled as one of the openers on Metallica's Shit Hits the Shed jaunt, but they canceled last minute as the singer was in the throes of his heroin addiction. If we had kept going, Kinney told Rolling Stone, there was a good chance we would have self-destructed on the road, and we definitely didn't want that to happen in public. Their replacement on the Metallica dates? Candlebox. And finally, number 10, Alice in Chains didn't just cancel the Metallica tour dates, they actually broke up. The cancellation of the Metallica run was just the beginning of a downward spiral. In fact, after Staley, fresh out of rehab, came to a band rehearsal high, Alice in Chains not only called off the tour, they also disbanded for a good 6 months. At first, I was dumbfounded, Staley told Rolling Stone. I just sat on my couch staring at the TV and getting drunk every day. When we first got together as a band, we were all brothers. We lived in the same house, and we partied together and drank as much as each other. But then we started to split apart, and we went different ways, and we felt like we were betraying each other. The band would eventually regroup and even recorded another studio album together, 1995's self-titled Offering, but things were never quite the same. Thank you all so much for watching. Be sure to like and subscribe and click on one of these other awesome Revolver videos that are floating around this end card.